What's up, world? It is another DeemCast here exclusively at the Lighthouse campus in Venice, California. A new IRL campus that I work at. And on some on the after hour spot, I'm able to kind of come in here and just record a little podcast, talk about my life, talk about what's going on in the world, and of course, I do this on my streams anyway. Deem everything across all platforms. And yeah, but today I just want to sit down and talk about basketball. Um, Basketball is actually a first love of mine. I sparingly talk about it on my streams. I don't really bring up sports too much on my streams because not all my viewers are there to hear me talk about sports and stuff like that. I got a few of my viewers, they bring up sports and stuff like that while I'm sitting there watching. So I'm able to shout out to Ricardo and Island Sand and Illest Nerd. A few other people come by and just always stop by and say what's up and talk about sports with me, and I greatly appreciate that. For that little outlet of talking about sports, because yes, I love sports. I love basketball particularly, and I kind of want to talk about sports. Or basketball because it's kind of at a weird space right now. The NBA All Star Week was just around my birthday, February 17th, 18th. It's usually always around my birthday, so it's always kind of a cool time to sit down and watch some basketball games and kind of seeing all the greatest players in the world come together and have some fun with it. But yeah, this year I wasn't too enticed to watch it. For the first time in a very long time. Whether it was, and it's not like, of course, other things. Sometimes other things are going on in my life where I just kind of not really in the mood to consume any content at the time. But this time around, it wasn't that. It's just I wasn't interested. I just wasn't really interested in the game. Um, and they changed the layout, the format this time around. With Shaq had the OGs. Kenny had the Rising Stars, Chuck had the International Stars, and then Candace Parker had the other Rising Stars team. So they had a lot of Rising Stars, which is, we usually have a Rising Stars game, which is always pretty cool to see. The first memory I always have for that game is when Kyrie Irving broke off Brandon Knight incredibly bad. Incredibly bad. The whole ankle went. The whole ankle went. And this was Kyrie. This is Cleveland Cavaliers Kyrie. So still a rising star. And I think he went 7 for 7 at the 3 point line that game. Kyrie showed how good he is. I was still kind of on the fence with Kyrie at that time, but in that Rising Stars game, he showed out. He showed out for sure. So yeah, this time around they had this whole format. They played up to 40. Very, very weird. Very, very weird of a feeling. A lot of people were really complaining about the commercials. There was a lot of non-basketball time throughout that period. Mr. Beast was there. It seemed a lot more like a commercial than anything. And people were kind of saying that, it's because, they're trying to sabotage it to kind of sell it to other markets or networks, and with ABC, I believe, and Amazon Prime, and a lot of other people kind of jumping in to get some of the NBA product on their networks or on their platforms. So the NBA is changing. Basketball is changing. And it's, I don't know if it's for the best or for the better. Um, there is a lot of rhetoric. There's a lot of talk about how boring the games are. I'm on the fence with that side of it as well. There's a lot of threes being shot. The Boston Celtics, who are the defending champions, put up like 50 threes a game. Um, but there's also the other side of people watching basketball because yes, OKC is a different team that's almost. I think they're number one in the West right now. Though they don't shoot that many threes, they're very defensive orientated. They're different, so people saying that everyone's playing the same, there is that narrative out there, and it's not true. It really isn't. Shout out to Kenny for two, and the low. I think he goes by Low Lights on YouTube as well. I watched a video pretty recently about Low reacting to Kenny's YouTube video, and I thought I was the only one out here kind of feeling like, yeah, there's a lot of narrative going around about the whole everyone's playing the same. I don't think that's the problem. I don't really think it's everyone's playing the same. Um, I think it's storylines for me. I think there's not a lot of storylines going on. I mean, of course, the Luka trade was crazy to see. The Luka trade was a interesting. Honestly, no one saw that coming. No one really knew about how, I guess, everything was going on with the Dallas Mavericks and Luca, for them to all of a sudden make a trade for for Anthony Davis, and especially since the Dallas Mavericks made the championship, they made the finals last year. They lost to the Boston Celtics, but they did make it. And for you to trade your franchise player for Anthony Davis, who showed up and got injured day one, um, that was a huge storyline plot that no one really saw coming. Of course, Jimmy Butler being Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat, Jimmy gonna do it his way. He wanted out of Miami. He did it. He got out of Miami. He's now at the Golden State Warriors. Great team. Of course, Steph is still Steph. Braun is still Braun. KD is still KD. Those three are the legends that we had, living legends in the NBA right now that still are playing at a very high level and very still fun to watch if you are able to watch a game with those guys. But yeah, the next star is up. I hope Devin Booker can. I'm still kind of not sold on Devin Booker. As great as he is, he's amazing, right? But I don't know if Devin's going to be able to kind of get you over that be able to carry that team like he needs to. So Devin's still out there. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still those guys. I mean, Boston Celtics are defending champions for a reason, right? Hold on. Let me get some water. Oh. Only been 6.5 minutes, huh? Funny. Again, I don't really do podcasts by myself, so we'll see how this works. Yes, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are, they're still running it over there in the East. The Cleveland Cavaliers apparently showed up. Again, they're going to have to prove it. Same thing with OKC. Both those teams are really good, and they're going to have to prove it. But Darius Garland and Spider Mitchell, apparently they're finally putting it together. They have the best record in the NBA. But yeah, when it comes to the young stars and the next up and comers, I sold all my stock on Anthony Edwards. I sold it all. When it comes to the next generation, I thought Anthony Edwards was going to be that guy. They traded, unfortunately, the Minnesota Timberwolves traded Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks, which kind of stunted. I wouldn't say stunted Ant's growth. Obviously, it's supposed to be letting him take over even more, but I don't think it's gone that way, which is unfortunate. They probably should have got rid of Rudy Gobert, to be fair, but no one wants Rudy Gobert. So that sucks for Ant, and it's good more and more this is going on, the more and more you kind of see that I don't think Ant is going to stay in Minnesota, especially after this trade, and especially the way he's talking and everything else like that. Again, and I'm still an Anthony Edwards fan no matter what. I think the guy's still one of the best players in the league with the most potential. But there's a lot of off the court things that he's doing that I feel like is kind of stunning his growth in certain ways. Maybe even his mentality about how he even looks at basketball. Maybe I don't know the man personally, but from the outside looking in, they asked him during the All-Star break, you want to be the face of the league, and he kind of said no, they got Wemby for that, which is Victor Wembanyama from the San Antonio Spurs, who unfortunately just got injured with a deep vein thrombosis in his shoulder. Thrombosis is a crazy word, by the way. Yeah, he just is out for the season now, so that sucks for the Spurs, as well as hopefully Greg Popovich is able to kind of heal from his stroke. It's crazy to kind of hear, he's going through a lot on that side, not able to kind of get back out there. So, get well soon, Pop. Hope, of course, if you need to retire, go ahead and retire. I know he loves the game. I don't think he wants to retire. I think this is really his life. He's given his whole life to basketball and kind of not done with it. It's on some stuff like he doesn't know what else to do with his life. So I feel like that's really where he is in his life. But that's just me speaking. I don't know the man personally either. But yeah. Basketball is something that I always kind of keep up with. I love basketball and I love watching it and I love knowing things about it and who are the hot players, who do you think is going to be up next. That this stems from me loving basketball at 5 years old and always watching it and seeing where the game has gone. Again, and I'm not a guy that's going to go through your stats. I'm not a guy that's going to be going, I think I just more watch basketball to, and I can usually assume who's doing very well, I guess, with the assumptions of how much someone's probably putting up averaging and stuff like that, or what they're supposed to be averaging for a team, or whether they're a star player, a role player, a B star, someone to A to B. a great sixth man, whatever the case is. I just like kind of just seeing how people play their roles, because the thing about the NBA, which people don't kind of know, some people don't know, your average man, I'm not sure your average fan, but your average civilian, hear about the money and hear that these guys are making all this money, yet they're, not producing and stuff like that. The thing about these NBA players are they are some of the best in the world, hands down. These guys were averaging crazy amounts of points in high school, in college, all across the world. And yeah, they are that damn good. It's just they play certain roles on a team because someone's either better or whatever the case is, whatever the stock is on a certain player, whatever the case is, things don't really work out. Not to work out, but they don't. They aren't getting paid to do certain things. They aren't getting paid to shoot. They aren't getting paid to be that player on that team. They paid someone else the $200 million contract in order to be that player. You're just a role player, come off the bench, play great defense, take the shots when they're open, but you being the best player on the team, probably not going to happen for certain players. Doesn't mean that you're not one of the greatest in the world at that time. But yeah, the NBA is just a very, very tough league to even break into. So a lot of guys that I've seen over the years that I thought were really, really good don't really make it to the NBA, and we don't really think about that. I'll never forget Perry Jones, I believe Perry Jones the third from Baylor. I thought that guy was gonna be incredible, and that's not even a shot at him at all. I truly loved watching him play in it at Baylor. I thought he was going to be the next up. He went to OKC. OKC. This was the Russell Westbrook KD run, and I was really ecstatic to see him get to OKC. I was like, man, he could be able to learn from KD and learn from that and kind of work on his game that way. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it in the league for very long, but still, still made it to the NBA. Still, so it showed how great he had, how much potential he had. Just wasn't able to get it done. Um, yeah. And there's other guys on the other side of this, which there's guys that have the potential and don't really fill through, and there's guys that kind of break over to the other side. And I'm going to bring up a certain man, a certain name that has kind of rubbed a lot of the NBA the wrong way. And that is, oh man, sucks to do this, but Paul George. Paul George, man. Paul George. Where to start when it comes to Paul George? So I gotta take it back. I gotta take it back to 2013. Probably is where I need to go. When LeBron and the Heat and the Heatles were running. So I have been a closet Indiana Pacers fan since about 2012, 13, I believe, most likely. Excuse me. I used to run with them in 2K a lot. We had George Hill, Lance Stevenson, Paul George, Danny Granger, David West, Roy Hibbert. I know I'm missing a few people off that bench, but either way, great team. Tyler Hansborough. I think Lou Almondson was there for a little bit too. Either way, great squad. Great squad. Frank Vogel was the coach who ended up going to win a championship with the Lakers during COVID. So wasn't the coach either. They just ran into the Miami Heat. They had to go to 7 games multiple times against that team. And the breakout star at that time was, in fact, Paul George. Paul George was maybe in his 3rd or 4th year at this point. Just becoming that budding all-star to superstar status. Had some great games against the Miami Heat. Took them to the 7 games multiple times, I believe. Just couldn't get it done. The Heat were just a better team. Unfortunately for Paul George, after one of those seasons, he had a terrible leg break during the Team USA practice at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. Terrible injury. Never forget watching it. Never forget him screaming or someone screaming on the court. They moved the camera away, but I heard a woman screaming. Didn't really know what happened. You couldn't really tell because it was such a fast-paced thing. Just he flew. He tried to dunk, I believe, and kind of came off the rim at a bad angle. His leg hit the padding on the court, right behind the rim or right behind the backboard, and broke his leg. Very, very bad. Very, very bad. If you ever go watch the replay, I wouldn't suggest it. If you're into that stuff, though, terrible break in his leg. But before then, I'm pretty sure he was a slam dunk champion. Paul George was. I'm pretty sure he won the slam dunk championship. And yeah, he was a lot more of a high flyer as well. So he would go bang on people. In fact, he banged on Chris Anderson, Birdman himself, banged on his ass in the playoffs against the Heat. Probably one of my favorite dunks up to that point. But between him, that dunk, and then Vince Carter dunking on Alonzo Mourning was like the two dunks I remember, like really just someone just absolutely flying over somebody. Both of those dunks. So, yes, unfortunately, Paul George ended up breaking his leg. And since then, not saying he has not played great basketball. He has. He's, still been an all-star, still putting up his numbers, still, still getting paid the millions of dollars that he deserves in a lot of spots. He did come back, of course, from his injury, but I always felt like, yeah, he wasn't, after you break your leg like that, what type of mental toll that probably takes on you to jump like that and ever again. Who knows? He still dunked on a few people, but not the way he was doing beforehand. Not even close. Not even close. He for sure changed the game up a little bit. Became way more of a shooter, which he developed over the years of being in the NBA. He wasn't the greatest shooter coming out, but he worked on that a lot. You could tell from his progression up until that point. And then from there, I believe he went to OKC. He started having a lot of injuries with his shoulders, I believe. Him and Russ and Carmelo Anthony were like the big three for OKC for a minute there. And they couldn't get it done there. They lost to the Utah Jazz. Joe Ingles outplayed him and Carmelo Anthony a few times. It was kind of sad to see. I was like, ugh, that sucked. And then, of course, Dame with Dame time took out all three of them. And then Paul George, from that point forward, that shot was, man, that shot there kind of ruined everyone's look on Paul George, I would say. He took that shot, or Dame hit that shot, knocked the OKC Thunder out. This was Damian Lillard from the Portland Trailblazers, knocked out the OKC Thunder. And the press conference after, Paul George comes up to the mic and says, that was a bad shot. That was a bad shot. Whatever everyone else would say, that was a bad shot. And for probably 99.9% of the NBA, that's probably the truth. But between him and Steph, that is not true at all. That is just not true. That's not a bad shot at all. That's a shot Dame wanted. In fact, a step back to the right for a fading three. That's the shot that Dame wanted. He literally waited. He could have did a lot of other moves, but he was just like, I'm gonna go for my go-to move. If you watch Dame, you know that that's kind of his shot. He loves to hit that right step back jumper from 35. He has that range. Same thing with Steph. They have that range. Steph just proved it in the Olympics. He has that range. That was over Wemby. That was over like three other Frenchmen knocked it down. So for certain guys, that's the truth. And for Paul George to come out and say that was a bad shot, that was kind of the inevitable look at him at differently. And then from there, he went to the Clippers. Between him, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden got there a little bit later. And I think Russ even got there. Man, the Clippers have had a lot of people run through that team. Still can't get anything done. But his Clipper run was terrible. Point blank period for me. I'm sorry. I think they made it to the Western Conference Finals. I believe once. I could be wrong. Hopefully they at least did that. I don't even think Paul George was playing during that time. I think that was Terrence Mann to them. Let me check. Hold on. Let me confirm. I'm going to look this up right now. Mid podcast. Clippers Western Conference Finals. Let's check. 2021. Despite the success, the team reached the conference for the first time in 2021. Yes, they made it in 2021. I wonder if, let me see. Western Conference Finals Clippers for the Suns. That's when the Suns made it. Is that when Paul George? Did Paul George get hurt? I wonder. Let me check. Or that's when he kind of went belly up. They lost 4-2 at the end of the day. They lost 4-2 to the Phoenix Suns, who went to go on to lose to the Milwaukee Bucks. That was Giannis's first championship. So anyway, all that being said, Paul George's career in the Clippers, Ever since that leg break, I feel like it's always been something. Always been something. Something's been a little off with Paul George ever since that time. And of course, you can go look at the stats and say differently, but I promise I'm still a closet Indiana Pacers fan, and with Tyrese Halliburton and them, not great at the moment, um, but I promise I've been watching Paul George this whole time, and I can honestly say that he changed after that leg break. And again, I don't know mentally. I don't know if he's kind of afraid to get to the basket like he used to, because he used to elevate, he used to get up, and he used to be able to pull, and he was able to shoot as well. But now he's kind of went a lot more in the outside game. Doesn't really go to the basket as much. Doesn't really finish around the basket as much anymore. Every once in a while for sure. But and again, he's smooth. Paul George is a smooth player, but game is smooth. But kind of to see where he is now. So now, man, here's the last part of it. Now, of course, the talks about how bad COVID was for him in the bubble, which is, of course, COVID was a tough time. So he said he didn't really like playing in the bubble. He didn't mentally, just didn't like it. Understood. And then after that, he started his podcast up. Podcast P is the podcast that he does now. Whew. The clips that have come out for that podcast, when it comes to him talking about the Clippers were a B team, which is the team he was playing for, which he doesn't play for them anymore now. So I guess he came out and said that after. But that, like, Paul, you were supposed to be the reason that narrative changed. You were supposed to be the reason. As great as Lob City Clippers were, I love that team. They let me down as well. But you, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Terrence Mann, I think Norman. Oh God, I'm blanking on his name. Oh God, Norman. I know his name's Norman. I think this is his last name. But anyway, that Clippers team that they even had through those runs were good enough. Zubac, you guys had the talent. You guys had the talent to at least make it to the finals at least once. Injury prone, injuries between you and Kawhi Leonard, whatever the case was, you guys were not able to become that team you were supposed to become. Hands down. It did not work. And now you, Paul, are at the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Supposed to be the third star to those two. Because now you're a little bit older in your career, and you still deserve the money that you've gotten. Many people might, you know, be subjugated to say otherwise. Whatever the case is the market is the market when it comes to players and everything else like that. I know there's a lot of contracts running around right now. It's just like, how are people getting paid like this? But the market is the market. I think the same exact way when it comes to esports players and even streaming and gaming in general. I look at this the same exact way. Guys that were playing Halo 2 and all these esports and all these LAN parties from back in the day, those people like really landed the groundwork. Of course, Evo was giving a lot of that love back. So shout out to Evo, whoever's running Evo with the Evo Hall of Fame now, and bringing a lot of players back for them to play and kind of get celebrated for how good they were at certain video games back in the day, whatever the case is, and building this grounds for streamers to be who they are, gaming to be where there is, and everything else like that. So it's the same thing. I feel like for NBA or for the NBA contracts and everything else like that. The market is the market. That's just the way it works. So anyway, Paul George, 76ers right now, third string or third star to that team. Between Joel Embiid and Paul George, the first game, the debut game, both of them were out, and I posted about it and said, you might as well make this a schedule post. You might as well do that because both of them are going to be missing games. Both of them are going to miss a lot of games together. They're not going to be playing a lot together. Sure enough, that's exactly how the season has gone for both of them. They are not doing very well. Philly is not doing well. Tyrese Maxey is, still the best. I'm pretty sure. I forgot. I'm blanking on the rookie's name. The one that was painting his fingernails. This is why I got to do a little more research. But I kind of just flew this together. Let me check. Philadelphia 76ers rookie. Rookie with the fingernails. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He's on. He on TikTok. Let me check. Fingernails. Jared McCain. Thank you. Jared McCain. Is a rookie for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's kind of known on TikTok for painting his fingernails and dancing to all the hottest TikTok songs. Let that man live his life. It is what it is. Different type of lifestyle. This shows the different generations that we're in now. Either way, he was balling before he got hurt. He's out for the season now. I think he had a shoulder injury, but he's averaging more than Paul George and everything else like that. And Paul kind of came out and said, like, we can't be having this rookie kind of outplay us. And again, he meant it. Even how he said it, it was probably meant in a very, very better manner than what was said. But just because of Paul George being the guy he is, got some bad rap for it just because he's Paul George, and it came off of like almost on some salty type shit. Like, we can't be letting a rookie outdo me and outdo us. And yeah, the 76ers have not been good, and Paul George hasn't been good, and I know he hasn't been good. I'm pretty sure he averaged like 2 points. In fact, right now as I'm speaking, I opened up my Instagram and saw the 76ers were losing by 50 points to the Chicago Bulls. And I don't even know who's on the Chicago Bulls anymore. They had Zach LaVine. He's in the Kings. I think they still have Vukovic. Kobe White is pretty good. But other than that, I don't even know who's on that team. So y'all losing by 50 to the Chicago Bulls. Shows how good the league is, probably. But at the same time, shows how bad the 76ers are. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Paul George is the one that got away from me. I really wanted him. I hope Anthony Edwards can prove me right as much as Paul George proved me wrong when it comes to my basketball knowledge and kind of scouting players and kind of seeing who's up and who's going to be that guy. I hope Anthony Edwards can get it together. I hope he's that guy. I hope this doesn't go down like that because I love Anthony Edwards. I love two-way players. Paul George was considered one of the best two-way players in the league. And when I mean two-way, I mean he's going to be locking down the best offensive player. He basically is the best player on offense and defense on both on the team, right? He's able to guard the best player, and he's able to go score the most points. Best two-way player. He's known for that. Kawhi Leonard is known for that. Let me think who else. And first of all, they were both on the same team, and still they were getting cooked by Luka, who's on the Lakers now. So we'll see how that works out. Even though Luka's looking a little heavy, but we'll see how that works out for the Lakers in the long run. But Anthony Edwards is that guy as well. Now, Anthony Edwards is kind of known as being one of the best two-way players in the league. He's the guy that's guarding the best player on that side, and also offensively supposed to be scoring the most. And I just hope history does not repeat themselves with this one. I really, really want Anthony Edwards to kind of break out and be the star that I think he can be, the global star that he can be. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All I know is that I love basketball, and I'm going to continue to watch it. And this DeemCast was just nothing about basketball. How much I love it. I hope I was able to kind of just spitball it and kind of just come in here and talk and have fun with just my knowledge of basketball. I was actually upstairs talking to one of my coworkers about basketball for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes at the good old coffee shop, which is probably why I'm so hyped up right now. I'm drinking coffee now. Not a huge coffee drinker, but there are free coffees at this job. Iced latte, honey iced latte right now. So that's kind of what I'm off. So yeah. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Anyone listening to the first DeemCast. Soon to be more. Again, this is just me just spitballing. It's not going to be any type of script. I'm just going to sit here and talk. But yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.